Hey Snapchat, lately I've noticed that some people don't like to announce their funding rounds. I'm going to explain to you today why I think it's a good idea. The first reason you should announce funding rounds is it establishes a record of your company. What I mean is everybody's going to Google you. So if you go recruiting, if you try to do business development, if you try to do sales, if you try to do marketing, people are going to Google. And when they Google you, of course, that way you're going to seem real when they can read a story that you've raised funds. Number two, it makes a big difference for recruiting. I know the candidates you're talking to will say they don't mind if you're stealth mode, but trust me, when people read about you, they feel better about joining the company. It's psychological. Number three, it matters for employee morale, and it matters way more than you think. In any company I've ever worked at, I've noticed that the employees, when funding announcements come out, they get emails from their parents, from their siblings, from their classmates. All of this communication reinforces the goodwill and the feeling that they have for joining your company. Here's why. The emails, the Facebook posts, they all come in saying, "Congratulations, I read about your company." Again, it just leads to this feeling of things being real. You just have to trust me. I've seen it a million times. That important support that comes from family and from their community helps not only with morale, but it helps with retention. Number four, it will help you dramatically with future fundraising. Most investors now track companies that get funded and they get announced on a whole variety of databases, and you just want to be on people's radar screen. Investors never like to think they're influenced by what they read in the press. Investors are influenced by what they read in the press. Number five, it makes a big impact on business development. Just like investors track funding, now there are digital departments and investor departments in all the important places you're going to want to do business development. Funding announcements have a way of driving inbound, but they also make it easier when you outbound. Number six, announcing your funding will help you with future PR announcements. One day when you want to announce an executive hire you made or a product you launched or business development you did, the first thing that journalist is going to do is Google you. It goes back to this idea of establishing yourself as a real company. There are two things you want to get right regarding a funding announcement. Number one, delay your Reg D filing with the SEC to the extent that it's allowable. To be clear, I'm not advocating that you don't file. You just don't have to file the day after your round closes. So here's what you should do. Instruct your lawyers not to do the Reg D filing until you authorize it. Otherwise, they do it automatically. The problem with the Reg D filing is there's a lot of reporters who scan the Reg D database, and then you'll just get reported without your chance to be in charge of the news cycle. So if you plan to announce the round 3 weeks after it closes, I don't think there's any problem in doing your Reg D filing 3 weeks after. Number two, do not bundle your fundraising announcement with other news. Fundraising stories are just that. They're an angle, and a journalist will write about that angle. You save your other news for down the road. In the old days of print, people used to bundle a whole bunch of stories because you really needed something meaty to get a journalist to write about it. In the online world, it's not about one big story. It's about frequency of getting stuff in the press and getting on people's awareness. So tomorrow, I'm going to cover the situation in which it may be a good idea not to announce your funding, but I think it's the exception, not the rule.